सजना ओ सजना मैंने तुझसे प्यार किया पूरा हुआ मेरा सपना प्यार है सपना सजना ओ सजना मैंने तुझसे प्यार किया मैंने तुझसे प्यार किया तू ही है अब ख्वाबों में मेरे तू ही है अब ख्वाबों में मेरे चाहूं तुझको सांझ सवेरे छोड़ ना देना मुझको सनम छोड़ ना देना मुझको सनम साथ निभाना अपना सजना ओ सजना मैंने तुझसे प्यार किया मैंने तुझसे प्यार किया जीवन भर ये प्यार हमारा जीवन भर ये प्यार हमारा बन के रहेगा अपना सहारा टूट न पाए अब ये कसम टूट न पाए अब ये कसम प्यार न बदले अपना सजना ओ सजना मैंने तुझसे प्यार किया मैंने तुझसे प्यार किया तेरा प्यार है दुनिया में तेरा प्यार है दुनिया में तू ना मिला तो मर जाऊंगी साथ रहे हम जन्म जन्म साथ रहे हम जन्म जन्म साथ न छूटे अपना सजना ओ सजना मैंने तुझसे प्यार किया 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 मैंने तुझसे प्यार किया
Well, a very pleasant good afternoon or good evening, and welcome to the Ken Rampersaud Show on Island Zone Radio. I know I was not on for some time, but lot of it's a lot been going on over the past couple of months. My allergies been acting up. Um, and then I think that my COVID is probably getting the best of me. I'm getting so tired. Plus, in addition to that, the summer started, and I was doing so much work in the yard, in my front yard, as you guys could see. I showed them, I posted them on my page. Plus, my God, I did so much. We did so much work with the humanitarian collection of Pampers and so on. So far, we have sent 7 barrels. We have sent one big box to Guyana. The box is in Guyana at the moment. And up to last night, 11 o'clock, I was in the Bronx picking up some brand new clothes and some other stuff. Um, so I know, and then today is so hot. I'm doing so much, but thank God that I'm still here. I'm alive, and I had to decide. Making the commitment to do 2 show was it was tough on me. Um, on Sundays I work 7 to 3, and so it was hard coming from work, get off work 3 o'clock, and get on the radio at 5 o'clock. So I decided, you know what, let me do one radio show, and then I decide to do my show, the Ken Rampersaud Show. So moving forward, you will hear me on this radio, on Island Zone Radio, every Monday night from 8 p.m. to probably 9 p.m., 10 p.m. But also I will be doing 2 other small spontaneous show. Talk on Facebook Live, or I could go on the radio. Um, a lot of people tune in, and we get a lot of people who interact with me. So tonight's show, I'll be bringing on Dr. Narine Dat Sookram from Toronto, Canada. Um, he is trying to get on, but in the meantime, like I said, there was so much going on. There's so much going on in the world for the past couple of months in Guyana, around the world. Also, right here in Little Guyana, we lost the pandit. He was found dead. Had a lot of people at his funeral, and then we had a little bit. We had the little Miss Ariana Young from Guyana, who passed away about 2 months ago. Thank God that she was laid to rest yesterday after 2 months. So that was another big issue that was going on. Pretty little girl, I tell you, yesterday while I was at work, um, and then also I had a minor accident with my nose. I grabbed a piece of pipe, and I was trying to move the pipe so that I could cover the Pampers, that they wouldn't get wet. And for some reason, I don't know how, the pipe slipped out of the bucket and hit me in my nose, and it started to bleed so bad. But thank God I didn't get nervous and panic. I just took care of business. So that's another thing. Another thing that's annoying, that's sad. A wife was found in wrapped in tarpaulin or black garbage bag, and it's allegedly that her husband, her daughter, and her son-in-law is involved in all of this. So it's sad. I don't know where are we heading into this world. Um, it's sad that a family would involve children would involve in killing their own parents or their own parent. But the Bible has tell us a long time ago, tell us that, what, we will see a lot of things in this world. And the truth of the matter is, we are seeing a lot of things. Also, another thing that's going on is the war with Iran and Israel. I read that they are coming to some form of compromise where they were going to seize this. And the truth of the matter is, I also took vacation. I stayed home. I wanted to go to Ghana to do some work during May month, but I didn't go. Also, I'm planning to go out to Canada sometime next week or the following week. So it all depends on this war. What's going to happen if I get to go or not. I don't know if they're going to close the border. So that's a lot of stuff we're going to talk about, and I'm waiting on Dr. Narine Dat to get on the radio with me so that he could bring some light, share his perspective of things, of what's going on. Otherwise, to that, I will probably proceed with the show. And since I was not on for some time, and we could talk, you guys could interact with me. I'm looking to see now some of you who tune in. And Anita Ishdaulat Ram from Canada is on. Thank you. Keisho Jagroup is on. Thank you very much. Naomi Ramdas is watching. Thank you very much. Nafisa Khan, good evening to you. Thank you very much. Brian Singh, good evening to you. Nan Miraj, thank you, my sis. Thank you for tuning in, and God always bless you. um, so yes, and the other thing that the the current here, because of the heat wave, it's it's the current is not 100%. So if you see I get cut off, don't be surprised. Or if you see the computer giving a little problem, don't be surprised. It's the bad weather, that the heat wave that we have. Everybody's putting on their AC and they want to cool down, which I agree with them. But you know what? We have to. I want to ask everyone, especially here, that's affected with the heat wave, with the heat, to at least take off the lights that you're not using, and if possible, use one AC, so we could help with the current situation. So I will be playing a song for you guys now, and when we come back, we will get into business. I'm waiting for Narine Dat to come on. Okay. Let me see a nice song that I want to play for you guys, and I hope that all of you are doing really well. Um, one of my favorite girls sing.
Slow down, honey. Too fast, Trevor. Too fast.
Again, you're watching the Ken Rampersaud Show right here on Island Zone Radio. When I started radio back in 2018, this was the time slot that I had um, right here on Island Zone Radio. So I am back. I am back on this time. Omesh and the Wave Band. I like this couple. Pushpa.
जादू तेरा किस पे चला होगा किसी दिन ये फैसला होगा आएगी जाना तूने अभी में कहाँ जाना है खेल हम दिखाएंगे अपने ही जाल में चिंता के बस जाएंगे वो घड़ी आएगी वक्त आने पे तुझको ये समझाना है किसे जीना है और किसको मर जाना है
जिसका मुझे था इंतजार जिसके लिए दिल था बेकरार वो घड़ी आ गई प्यार में हद से तो कर जाना है माँ जीना है तुझको या मर जाना है
Welcome back to the Ken Rampersaud Show right here on Island Zone Radio. It will be aired every Monday night from 8 p.m. to probably 9, 10 o'clock at night. It all depends how the show is going. And we are still waiting on Dr. Narine Dat to come on. In the meantime, he is coming. He's probably getting some problem. But while he is coming on, I could probably start and talk a little bit um, about Adriana funeral yesterday. It was, I sat down at work and I watched the mother sit down there over that coffin and she was crying. She sat there quietly at times, um, mourning the death of her daughter. You know, it is said that we should, our children should bury us, but when we, as parents, when we have to bury our children, it's a whole different story. And the way how she died, that has to be more painful and more hurtful. To know your 11-year-old daughter went out swimming and she never made it back home. And it's a problem. And that just goes to show that um, as parents, as guardians, that when we take on those responsibility to take care of these children, we have to give of ourselves and make sure that we do a good job. Because I tell you, and as much as a lot of things going on, I wonder how that grandmother is sleeping at night, knowing that um, she took that little girl to swim and she have to tell the parents that that child died. So it has to be tough. It is tough for the grandparents and the mother and the father and the immediate family. This thing has affected people not only in Guyana, where she's from, but around the world, from England, Australia, around the Caribbean. So that has to be, it's tough. I actually end up tearing up watching her mother and even her father cry. you know, it's not an easy thing. Um, the other thing is that I want to talk about a little bit today, since we're waiting on Narayan Dat to come on. Um, News coming out of Guyana where a mother went missing, and as she went missing, they've it's so hard to talk about these things sometimes because of the nature of it. I heard that she had an argument, disagreement with her children, her child, her daughter, her husband, and her son-in-law. And next thing you know, they found her body in a bag. One has to wonder what's going through people's mind that these things to go and take someone's life and know that that person would not come back again in their life. You know what I'm saying? Imagine a daughter. If it's a son, I'm gonna say, but it's a daughter, and it's a sad story. But I hope that whoever commit this crime will pay the consequences. The other thing is, when I hear the story, what came into my mind that so many people are sleeping with snakes under the bed or under the pillow. Imagine your husband is taking part of taking your life. What kind of partner you have there? So got to be a difficult thing. And I wonder how the husband is going to feel if he is the one who took part in the killing of his lovely wife. You know, we don't know what caused it, but no matter whatever caused it, I am so sick and tired of hearing so many of our women in Guyana getting murdered or being abused. When is it going to really stop? you know, Also, before I forget, tomorrow is election here in New York. I want to encourage people to go out there and vote for your candidate. Vote for one person who you know that vote for someone who you know that's could help you, help our community. You know, it's sad, but let's go out and vote. It's a strong vote in District 28. It's tough. We have a Guyanese Indian, and we have an Indian from India will be in the race tomorrow. So I want to encourage people to go there and vote. Vote for your best candidate. Um, uh, so that's another big thing that tomorrow I'll be watching. From tomorrow morning till tomorrow night. Luckily, I'm working 16 hours. You know, I'm talking to Dr. Narine Dat. So yes, so go ahead and go out and vote. That's the right. You work hard. You work to get to this to be able to vote. It's an honor. It's a privilege to go and vote. All right, and also let's pray for peace in this world. You know, let's pray for peace in this world. Um, Also, while it seems to me like Dr. Narandat is getting some problem in getting onto the radio, I see he's writing to me, but I don't know why he is not getting on when we try this, sometime before. Uh, if not, we're gonna come back another. He can come back next week or some other time. um, so our plan was we were going to talk about a little bit about some of the things that teenagers encounter. And I could talk a little bit about that. I was a teenager one time in my lifetime, and I could really talk since he's not getting on. And like I said, we'll get off at about 9 o'clock. Oh, I hear a sound. So it looks like he's getting in. Yes. Let's see. Looks like he's on. Dr. Narayan Dat, good evening, sir. I wonder if you can hear
Good
me.
evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, I could hear you. How you doing?
I'm doing good. My apologies for all of this, but you know how it goes when you're doing a live show with the technology and everything else. I'm doing good. It's really hot here, but
I know exactly what you're talking about. For some reason I don't know why I'm not. I can't see on my screen, but I know that you can see me because okay, I could get you now. So thank you for coming on, ladies and gentlemen. We got Dr. Narayan Dat on. So I spoke a little bit about Adriana Young. We talked about about the pandit. I talked about my nose. I spoke a little bit about the wife, the mother who was murdered. Can you please, Dr. Narayan Dat, give us a little insight? I know that you were watching the funeral yesterday, and after 2 months, this 11-year-old was finally put to rest. For me, it was tough as a parent to see her parents go through so much agony and so much pain, and they're grieving. What's your professional take in all of this?
yeah. So I mean, there's a lot, that need to be said, so to speak. So first of all, I mean, first as being a father, as a human being, as a person, I'm glad that that child, has finally put to rest. I think for me,
Yes.
that's important. Having said that, though, I know there are still mixed feelings based on the situation. I mean, you cannot deny the fact that the child is no longer here. That's more um, and mixed feelings because as you may have seen, there's a little bit of family issue there, right? With the grandmother, and with the aunt, and all of
Right.
that. And that tells me that there's an opportunity for us to dig a little bit deeper there to kind of see what went wrong there. I heard, when I say person, I'm referring to the social media page during the funeral. I heard when the aunt was asking the question, what happened, right? How come nobody seen that child when she was gone or whatever the case may be? And it looks like they had a bunch of them there. So she asked a question
Right.
there.
Right.
But at the end of
Yes.
the day, people will have to kind of stop speculating. You and I mean, we were not there. But, at the end of it all, we really have to accept the fact that, you know, the child is no longer here. We really have to go with the result of the expert. I'm talking about, the test, the testing that was done, where it
Right.
was determined that the child was, basically child died. I think that's something we have to accept. Obviously, some people don't want to accept it, but if you really analyze it well, there's more happening there, right?
Right.
The reality is, and we're not blaming anybody here, by the way, we're just having a conversation. And so, I mean, a bunch of people went out. She obviously, she was only 11 years old. Um, there were a bunch of grown-ups there. They had a responsibility there as well, too. Um, the one thing I want to add, though, Ken, is that I
Yeah.
think that, the Guyanese people, they acted a bit too quickly in terms of, burning down the hotel and really taking things, in their own hands. They did a lot of damages.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
Absolutely.
it's not only about the death of the child, it's not only about all that, but that obviously that's important and that's a big loss. But there were, so many other things that's happening and people were just doing things, that was not necessary.
Right. Right. And then the other story that I want to we could talk a little bit about this lady in Guyana who, or you want to say the wife and mother who was found murdered by her family. What's your take in that?
That's a
That's
hard
really a
one.
sad thing.
Yes, that's a hard one to swallow. So usually in a situation like that, there had to be some kind of thing happening over the years, because nobody, first of all, that that's an unfortunate situation, right? But nobody will decide, all of a sudden to kind of do act as such. You know, in these kind of situations, we really have to like, really deep. It's that investigation to figure out what went wrong, because
Right, exactly so.
I mean, something like this is hard to digest, right? Because it's like family members that are being accused, and that's a tough one for sure. That's hard, and it's a shame, because these days, they are more support now than they were 20 years ago, and here we are talking about all of these things, the murder, the domestic violence, everything. So that's
Right, right. um, so let's start. Let's go talk. As we were supposed to talk about teenagers a long, long time ago, um, and let's talk a little bit about some of the challenges that teenagers experience in school or growing up. And we could start by talking about social media pressures and how do we help them. So in your mind, what's your take on that?
So first of all, that's a tough one. I'll tell you why. Because we live in a digital world, and we live in a society where there's a lot of peer pressure, right? And keep in mind, not everybody has the same kind of support. So, for example, like my kids, they're a little bit more fortunate that they have people like myself to kind of guide them along.
Right.
So they could somehow make it so the choices in life and all of that, but many people don't have that. And the fact that we have everything right at our fingertips, uh,
Right.
it's a dangerous thing. And the reason why I say that is because if you really scroll through, social media and take a look, usually in most cases, it is always something negative. So it's that,
Right.
things
Right.
like bullying, that people feel that they have, an entitlement to kind of have their say. People don't hesitate because it is so easy. And as you know, every teenager has a phone. One good news, though, I guess it's good and bad in different ways. Here in Ontario, the government is making it. Uh, they're trying to put some policies in place where kids would be allowed to have, cell phone in the classroom. So I'm not sure I'm not sure how to put that what that would be, but those are measures people are putting in place, and they're trying different things because they know it is extremely hard on a teenager when they have everything right on their fingertip. They feel as if they have to keep up with everybody else. The bullying, as we know, it's such a common thing, which is a dangerous thing because usually we don't find out about these things until somebody take their own life, which is
Right, right.
a sad situation. Bullying, it happens all the time. Even for adults as well, we are focusing on the younger folks. Even for us, that's hard. That hard, right?
Right.
And it's something hard even for us to make certain decision when it comes to this. But for teenagers, it's extremely difficult. And that's something, we have to, that's something, I mean, they really have to have a good school. So basically, they have to leverage this, this system to have, this school system. Parents, caregiver have to try their best to kind of guide and support along. The sad thing with that is that sometimes the parents themselves, they're not able to kind of, be or able to offer, the proper support because sometimes parents, as you know, they're busy working, they're trying to make ends meet, and they themselves don't have that mental capacity and understand what's happening because they have had struggles in their earlier years and they're just trying to get by day by day, so that makes it difficult.
I'm glad we talk about that because, with a cell phone, it could be a good thing and it could be a bad thing too. Because the truth of the matter is, it could be distracting for some students, and it could be a good thing that in case something is going on in the school, the child could record it. Somebody's bullying them, they could record it. Or if there's an emergency, the child could call the parents. So um, either way, it's good or bad. It all depends how you look at it. Um, and a lot of children feel that they need to be perfect, right, online, and we want to show ourselves that we are perfect online with our makeup, with our body image. What's your take on that? With me, I think that, listen, whoever you are and whatever you are, just portray yourself as you. Just live your authentic self. That's all that matters, right?
So, for sure,
And I know that
100%.
you talk about this quite often too.
Oh yes, so you've nailed it there. And so it is important for young folks to hear it all the time, right? So they need to hear it from people like, ourselves, from role models like the teachers, parents. They need to hear that, yeah, it is okay, or they're okay exactly like they are with the body image things, and even academically too. One of the things that I personally don't like, I'm pretty sure email about this, how Guyana, for example, to find that the minister, for example, will kind of she will come out and she will read, the results of all the, about the top schools and all of that. It is a very dangerous thing. So, because can you imagine how hard it is for the people who are not here their name, right? So that it's there, the people who are doing well. And it's nice to celebrate success. I celebrate success the best way we know how. But those things, it's extremely difficult. It's hard when kids are not even the kind of compete, and so forth. So if things like that, uh, it's hard, but it's just a cultural thing, I think, in my opinion, as much as I have close connection, with folks in Ghana, on with politicians, so forth, I think most of them are working in a blind spot. They're not realizing that they're doing more damage than good. Right? Yes, it's proud to say, look, kids, achieve, the highest marks in Caribbean and so forth. I think those things are great, but when we do not all the results and then kind of, say, John, you get this much. What about the thousands of the other kids, right? And so that's hard. Things like that, we have to find a way to make sure that we be mindful of those things, but also the guidance system is very different here in North America.
Right, right.
I'm talking about the academic piece. So, for example, a child can do really, really well in school from grade 9 up to grade 12. Um, right? They can have all the A's and so forth, but when they write the final examination, let's say the low passing subject, pretty much failed it pretty much, right? Which is not a good system.
Right.
Here, as you know, that from the time you enter high school, they take that into consideration. So if you fail, your final exam or whatnot, you still become a high school graduate. This is a better system that way. Not saying that the guidance system is not good. It's good in its own way, but all of those things so far because as you know, people put a lot of effort when it comes to the final examination. It's $10,000. And now I believe they get oh, this is kind of nice as well too. But all of that contributes to all the challenges that the young people are going through right now. Lots of peer pressure, medication fees. I mean, it affects their mental health eventually. When they are in that, when they are in that age, obviously, even things like entering a relationship and so forth becomes very, very challenging. There's no question.
I'm hearing a kind of echo back in your studio. Um, I wonder if it's coming from your side. Um,
I'm gonna so we'll try this, and if not, it means that it's coming from your end.
okay. All right. Okay.
I'm hearing you nice and clear, no echo, but hopefully in a minute or so it's gonna be gone.
Yes. Let's hope so too.
Yeah.
Um, all right. We are better now. It's your end. It's
Hey,
better
but we
now.
gotta
Thank
explain
you.
those stuff.
All right. You know, we talk about peer relationships, romantic relationships, and peer pressure. It's a problem because what I notice is a lot of young people they fall into this thing with peer pressure. How can we as parents help our children help them in a way that they do the right thing and not follow these children that go with their peers going and do drugs and alcohol and these kind of things. I'm so glad we have Uma Deepan watching all the way from France. Very nice. Congratulations. Thank you. I like when I get people watching from different part of the world. Flavo Andre, thank you very much. My beautiful Aunt Dolores Sigobin is watching too. Thank you very much. And to all of you who's watching, and I'm not seeing the name, thank you very much. You're watching the Ken Rampersaud, which is going to be on now every Monday night, 8 p.m. So we were talking about peer pressure.
Oh yes, peer pressure is a real thing. It is a dangerous thing. At the end of the day, as parents, we have an obligation. Keep in mind, Ken, that the young folks, they're so young. They think they know it all. By the way, when they get to the teenage years, they think they know it
Right, they
all.
all
And
know.
sometimes, and they think, and sometimes they themselves don't want to take the advice from the parents or from the older, from the more mature folks. But it starts with communication. Communication, it's so important for us. And it doesn't have to be done in a professional way, but I might use the term check in, because that's in the work meetings, but it's so nice to talk with your kids just to kind of have a good sense as to what's happening. And sometimes it can be hard for parents to do because keep in mind, depending on people's professional job, they might have stressful just at work, and they might have their own
Right.
mental health, things going on, and they might be there physically, but they might not necessarily be present for the kids and so forth. But all the time, communication, it's important. And one of the things I always advise parents is exactly what I just said, right? You cannot allow wait for things to happen. And it's nice for to have that open conversation where you let them know, love, you're free to do this. You're free to do all this. You do know that if things get bad, there are consequences there. So the consequences is not necessarily, go to jail or anything. The consequence could be that you stay actually, continue to finish school, have a career, start a family, all of that because you get trapped in the wrong thing. I've worked in an addiction treatment center, and it is it's a good experience for me to see how young people get trapped into in some form of addiction, and they're you and I just that they got trapped into this thing and start to get a bit. So you and I we can prevent these things we can prevent it from really getting on that once we have those open public conversation where with our kids, the younger folks, And that is for parents too. It is they have obligation as well too. And ongoing, right? It has to be kind of ongoing. Let people understand and love that, yes, because at the end of the day, none of us you cannot keep an eye on a kid or a teenager 24/7. Right? Nobody can do that. But the bottom line is the open conversation and let them know that they are consequences of this support. We have to find a way to make sure that there are all kinds of support. Support for kids in particular is limited. And one of the biggest thing I'm seeing, Ken, is that when it comes to young people, you really have to have young people to support them too, right? So for example, like a young person probably, would be comfortable going to like a really old person, see for this help, it wouldn't make sense. If they speak the same language and all of that, some of these things you have to consider. But we have to make sure that, there's a help in the school system. We have to make sure that eventually, let's say, single counselor, or, a social worker, therapist and whatnot, it's not a stigma. We have to get to that point. But peer pressure, it's there, it's a real thing. And we see it. And a lot of times, sometimes people will not take their own lives when it comes to not being able to handle it, based on, what's happening. I don't
Um, in terms of academic stress, oh God, that's my one of my biggest problem. When I was going to school, you have so many people um, who's brilliant and more brighter than you are, um, do well in school, and then we have our expectations from our parents. How do we cope with all of this? And it's not an easy thing.
Yeah.
And I know you got a
So,
lot of. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, no, I mean, so academic, speaking of that, where I'm surrounded by universities and colleges here. So, but anyways, what I was gonna say here is that every month, one university student to take that I'm aware of, that's shared.
Really?
And yes, every month, minimum, and that's because of that academic stress. Because what happened? These are high-end university, and it does not
Right.
matter. But I'll give you an example here. And so a lot of these students they migrate from different part of the world. So the parents, for example, they have basically invested in it in a sense that it's so whatever they have, right? To support that individual because when they come here, they have you have to support them, right? Rent, food, and everything else. And a lot of times, in many cases, they are not able to make it because keep in mind, sometimes there's that lunch barrier. I know a situation where there was a student who came and he was leaving home, but he was not going to university because he couldn't handle the academic stress, so to speak. So he used to leave home, go to the mall, and when it came to the graduation time, now about 4 years after, he had absolutely nothing to show, right? So
Oh wow.
if
Yep.
I just graduate, so parents and stuff, but they were excited that it's coming close to graduation time, and he knew he had nothing to show, and he basically took his own life.
Oh wow.
Uh,
Sad
and
story.
so yeah, and so I think as much as we want the best for children, like I want the best for kids and so forth, but one thing I can tell you for sure is that like my daughter, especially the one that's in high school, that she does not have a feeling. Right? I said
Right. Right.
focus and to give it your best shot.
That's
In
it.
fact, earlier today, yes, in fact, earlier today, we were looking at results and so forth, and she did well on that. That's also for the set of results. Give it your best shot. But like I said, and that's key. But um, keep in mind, this whole system is a business. It's a whole
Right.
business, and so I mean, I'm not saying that degree is not a good thing. Because in fact, I put a quotation today regarding degree that because degree is not just a piece of paper, and you can take to places like a tip with official, right? And
Right.
so I cannot say, okay, well, don't invest in that, but you have to make sure that you invest your time and money into something that matters to you, and you will know those things. and try your best to support kids, for the programs that they're interested in and that they can manage successfully, rather than ostracize them. And it's still happening, as if it's still happening. And that's a problem. It's a real problem. I hear it all the time. And kids come to me and say, "Look, I'm doing this because I want to make my parents happy." But they do it with such a joy. But that still is a problem.
Yes.
So that's I honestly, you and I would see the change here. It takes about 7 generations for the studies for us to see real change to happen. And so these things continue to happen. I think yeah, we have to start somewhere.
Absolutely. um and that's a tough thing to for children too, and that's why as parents we have a responsibility too, that as long as our children are trying their best, that's all that matters. And all of our children can't be attorney or doctors or whatever it is. Some have to clean the floor, some have to be taxi drivers, whatever it is. What matters to me though, Dr. Narine, that is, if what matters to me is that our children, if they turn out to be great human being, you know to be kind, to be good with other human being, that's it. Um Dealing with puberty, body image issues, and self-acceptance, in today's world, and I don't, I think back in the days we were too, like, even to men, you get your chest grows, you look like you got breasts. um and people are very, these days they bully you for all these things. So how do you as a child um deal with all of these things, body image
Yeah,
issue, and so accept for who you are?
it's hard. It's hard because speaking of that, Ken, and on a serious note, if I was to be the way society want us to be, like perfect shape, the perfect body, and so forth, maybe my profession would have been very, very different. But to answer your question, it comes back to that. That it comes back to what we talked about earlier. We really, at the end of the day, we really have to, find a way to accept. And trust me, listen to those of you who are listening and watching. Once you
Yes.
accept it for you, nothing else matters at all. Because if we aim for that perfection, trust me, this one, you're really setting up yourself for failure. And and I'm pretty much sure most of us have been there at one point in our life because we didn't know anything different, right? I'm pretty sure when you were younger, Ken, you wanted to be a certain way. I think it's not uncommon for people to kind of want to be a certain way, and or be with somebody else, not uncommon. But the most simplest thing really is to really accept it for who you are and be comfortable with you. And you know what? They are people like that. And if we
Yeah.
don't get it, we and sometimes we ourselves don't get it because sometimes when you see certain, things out there, like lots of videos and all of that, um, sometimes you will see a little bit of negative comment, that they should look into this profession, or why is it that they choose art, being that part of a pageant. In fact, in the most recent Olympic, I can't remember which country, there was one swimmer, he had a belly. So he was not like flat, and he didn't have six pack
Right,
or
right.
anything of that kind, right? And one made comments there, but what they're not realizing is that that individual bypassed that and he accepted himself who he is. And he was very pleased that he represented his country in one of the biggest events in the world, right? And so, again, you really have to be happy with you. So when you look into that mirror, and if you like what you see, and if you're happy with what you see there, you will always, you'll always be happy, you'll always be content and so forth. As soon as you look into the mirror, you think goodness, it seems pretty fair, you're trying to cover it up. You just have to accept the gray hair, you have to accept all of these things, right? And women in particular, uh, when I mean I'm married, I see the changes, with my wife and whatnot. When they have kids, obviously their body change, all of that, but nothing in parts for not being to experience it. And some people never, based on, based on their body and their lifestyle, they can never get back to the way they were. And these are all the things. But again, just accepting and embracing. And I think we have an obligation to make sure that we're not judging people's faults, right? We have a tendency, as you would know, when people are born in Guyana, I'm not sure if it still happens. Like if you're on the lighter side, like that's the that's the kind of good things. So to speak, the darker side, that that seems to be a problem.
Yeah, mental health. We talk. This is a big one now that we could have talked about this by itself. But coping teenagers coping with anxiety, depression, and other mental health issue. Um, how do we move on with this when our children are struggling in school? Especially when our children are not talking to us. A lot of our children just come home and go to their room and don't tell us what's going on in school. Next thing you know, we hear that they're dead, or they
That's
commit
hard.
suicide.
Yes, yeah, that's extremely hard. And first of all, I have to say that the toughest time in life is being a teenager. Right? That's an extremely it's a difficult time. And one of the things I would encourage parents to keep an eye for is that, you know, when we were in the teenage years, poetry book by entitled Teenage Years by the way, just, and so it was me reflecting how I was feeling as an individual, how about relationships. But they are going through a phase as well, too, right? So it's a little bit different than I mentioned about that. So they're going through a phase. What that means is that 1 minute, like they're totally fine, they're smiling, there's a mom, that next minute it's a whole opposite, so it's a body, very normal. So we now have to understand obviously that this is just normal. But we also want to remind ourselves that when a teenager locked up in their room, for days at a time, that's not normal. So we have to check. It's okay to check it to see what's happening. And sometimes it is hard for us to hear certain things, but sometimes that's the best thing for us to do. Sometimes the teenagers they just want that safe space to kind of vent or share what's happening. And it could be based on the kind of things. An honest Ken, I guess I could say fortunate in a different way. Like I can
Yes,
hear it all in my profession and the
right,
things that teenagers share with me that the parents will never know because I've created a safe space. In fact, with my
right,
professional role,
right, right.
and
I know
so
that.
we now, yes, for sure. And so again, it comes back to that whole, communication piece, relationship that we have. And what that makes it difficult is that when you have, let's say, separation in the family, I mean, people have separation, and they remarry back, and they start that relationship, and things work out well. But all of those things affect things more. Um, we have to realize that we have to make sure that we are not putting our values on our kids as well too. Right? Like I mean, like you and I, like we were brought up differently. Things are a lot different now. For example, like I, we didn't have like a cell phone and all of those types of things, and so
Right,
so we have to accept certain things that this is a new generation and how we have to kind of learn as well too. We have to learn. So it's not about a teenager per se. We have to learn how we navigate you know, um, things having teenager in this modernized world where, we live in a digital world, everything's, fingertips, the culture here in our country is extremely, very different compared to, when we were so right? Um, the main thing is to make sure that we're not putting our values on them. Again, it comes back to that, right? Because when once a teenager or a young person get trapped into that whole depression piece and so forth, it's extremely difficult because they're not seeing value in anything anymore. Um, and that's a real problem. So a lot of people will take their own lives for sure, and it happens. There's no question about that. We see it all the time in states, it's happening here, it happens there, great. That's what's the issue.
Um, I got something we got to talk about too. I'm sure you see it on Facebook, but let's continue. Worrying our children, we worry about college, career, and what's next after high school. You know, I know that you are into education. You have came a far way too from Guyana. As children, we sometimes wonder what we're gonna do next. How do you talk to a child who, like, I don't want to say confused, but don't know what they're gonna do next?
For sure, absolutely. People would know what they want to do. It's a young person would know, and that's one of the reasons you'll find that high schools they start to introduce like career development courses and so forth,
Right.
so the kids can start to have that conversation, try to figure out things of their interests and all that. But one of the things people have to keep in mind is that sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So, for example, we have a child, is in school for important or let's say nursing, for example, and at the end of it all, reflects on it's like this and that. What I want to do, right? But honestly, as much as it could be a pain, it is totally okay to make that switch because if not, that individual will be unhappy for the rest of their life, right? So, some people have it, some people they know exactly that they want to be a teacher. For example, in fact, I have a friend who's a teacher. She knew exactly that she wanted to be a teacher. She always loved kids. She's been teaching for quite a few years now. She enjoys it. It's all the place. It didn't happen like that for me. And speaking of that, Ken, I always ask myself, what's next for me? But this is no peer pressure from nobody. There's like
Right.
my parents when I'm college graduating and so forth. Um, but I've always been that way. And I think there are exceptions. That's a little bit different. And so for me, I will never stay on the same job for 4 or 5 years. That's just me. That's okay. And I have brothers and so forth. It's been on the same job. So this is in place for 40 years and so forth. Um, it's people, and not only kids can, but they need that guidance,
Right.
especially now more than ever because they are investing time, they're investing money, and at the end of it all, most of the time they don't find something that is related to what they've been listening for. That's a problem. And also, as you would know, it is more expensive to live now. So go to school, have an undergraduate degree and whatnot might not even lead you to making money to live this like for free. So this is always ongoing. This is always open. That's one reason for me. I would always encourage people to to talk about funds, get opinion, from people who've been there and have that experience. A lot of times people don't want to ask, questions or they feel that they know it all, and things of that sort of that can be a problem. Like right now, for example, I have a friend, like he's a friend, and that's okay. I would mention a name, but he actually was making about $150,000 a year.
Wow.
And he lost his job, and he lives here in Canada, but it's for an American company. But my point is that lots of changes now and whatnot, and I'm trying to kind of assist along with you. But you never knows when we could be in this kind of situation. So we always have to be ready. For the younger folks, I can tell you right now, the younger generation, they're up for a challenging time. Like that, I'll tell you for sure, because it's extremely tough out there. A lot of young folks don't know how to save. They don't know budget. All of these things, these are all important things because um, like I think we spoil our kids. So do I think I'm not guilty of that? That's what we said to my wife and I. We're not on the same page because if they want something, I just give it to them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because
Right.
for me, I'm able to do it. That doesn't mean that I'm explaining to them, it's a love, you can do that. Be here. I have this open conversation, but for me, it gives me a sense of joy too. On the side note, it gives me joy to see my kids happy as well. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying
Of
that I give them
course.
every single thing that they want, but I surprise them all of them in so many different ways, and it brings joy to me. So that's separate thing. But kids they're up for challenging time, and I really worry for them to tell the truth because they cannot. It's tough to make it out there. We've been lucky and fortunate that myself, for example, yourself, we can establish a little bit in one way because we've been in this country for a long time. I'm not me, for example. I'm still at the peak of my career. I'm in my 40s, so I'm not at all. And so and I'm very marketable and all of that. So it's different. But how about not people like kids?
Um, do you want us to talk about bullying now, or you want us to keep that for another day and talk about the different bully? Um, what's your take?
So we can highlight a few things there, and then
All right, go ahead.
we can dive into it. Another time, deeply, so to speak. Um, and so is there any specific thing I should like to speak? There is any specific thing want to address or ask?
No, no,
Ask
you
you?
could just
Yeah.
just do in general. What's your take and how can teens deal with this really?
Yeah, so keep in mind, young people are smart people. So the young people who are watching or will be watching at some point or listening, we recognize that we folks are smart people, but we also recognize that we don't know it all, just like us. We don't know it all. So Ken, it is extremely difficult for them to deal with bullying because everybody wants to have that last word. You'll be amazed to know the kind of bullying, not only in the open, but these young people, they have like groups where they kind of chat and you'll be amazed to know the kind of things, they talk about, the person who they don't have good relationship with and so forth. As I was mentioning to you, let's see, like I do see young people as clients and so forth, and I've seen situations where those things, um, where it does happen, and at the end of the day, this is not like an overnight fix. But we now have, of kids, for example, we have to, remind ourselves that we have a responsibility as well, because it's not also about the other kid, right? Like we have to make sure that now, we have to take care of our kids, for example, to make sure that, we instill in them, good values. Right. And so that way, and I mean, if they feel as if they're being bullied, let's say in the school system, we want to have that kind of relationship where they can prove to themselves. I think that's important. And even in religious, like bullying I want to mention this, bullying even happens in religious places as well too. So sometimes we
Yep,
tend to forget about that and
with
thinking that,
adults too.
oh, definitely, absolutely, and for sure, there's no question about it. And speaking of that, Ken, I think uh, we as adults, like, we need to make those changes so that things will be a lot better for the young people because the kind of things I see people do on social media, grown people back and forth, fighting each other, cursing each other, and so forth. I'm thinking to myself, like, what example are we actually really setting for the young people when you think about it, right? And we don't have to be ourselves to be, their role model. Not that we are perfect people, like we make mistakes and all of that, but the bullying is it's a really big one, and it's a big part on everybody, including adults. And I mean, personally, for me, I realized that I'm not responsible for people's behavior, and I'm very mindful now who I have in my circle. And right, and so if I realize that look, like that person does not have, like let's say for some reason we cannot get along really well, right? And if it's affecting me, like I have to, there are different ways to address it. But if I find that love is getting out of hand, then I sometimes I really I didn't think anymore. I kind of miss off from those I think those are the things we have to, share with our kids as well, too, and young people, that if you are, with certain friends, and if you don't feel that that's a safe space for you, and so forth, you don't have to force yourself to kind of fit in, right? And I think it comes back to that open conversation over the bullying. It's one of the worst things people can embrace and can endure, rather. It happens in the workplace and it comes up in so many shape or form. I mean, in your country there, USA, like if you're president, my apologies if you voted for Donald Trump, and I'm being blunt here. A lot of the policies, a lot of things they put in place, a lot of things that they talk about, so forth, it's total bullying, right? It's just that they are in that position of power and
Hmm.
they just say whatever they feel like. It's a huge problem.
To be honest with you, I could see through all these things, but sometimes I prefer to stay quietly. Stay quiet. I see all the bulliness. I see all
Yeah.
that's going on. but I just don't want nobody to bash me or to get myself and have to defend myself, if you know what I mean.
And that's gonna be bullying if they start to do that though. If people start to do things like that, let's say somebody, reach out to me and back based on what we're talking about here, that's gonna be a perfect example what bullying is about.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah, but well, thank you very much. I think that you know what we are getting an echo again from your side, so we can gotta fix that for our next show. But before you go, there is two things I want to ask you. One is about you are an accomplished guy. You came to Canada. You you're a doctor. You studied hard. You play hard, and you're making such a big difference in Canada. And you said something you don't know what next for you. I don't understand. Not I don't understand, but what's next for you, my brother? You've got it all.
No, no, no. Good question. Thank you so much for asking that question. So
What's
I
next for you?
actually, there's something called multi-potentialite. And
Right,
so, but maybe we can do a show about that eventually. And so basically, people who fall under that category are good professional several different things. They cannot do one thing. Like they will go nuts. They will go into deep depression if they do one thing. That's a tip for sure. I did a study of this, and there are many people that do. So
right.
what's next for me though? To answer that question, I'm
Yeah.
seriously considering to study law.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, definitely yes. So if anything at all, because all of my cousins and my relatives from my mom's side are all lawyers.
Oh,
That's all
wow.
they know. And so and I've on a side note, like I've always represented vulnerable clients in the courtroom, and I've never lost a case. But
Wow.
I get people money all the time. In fact, very recently I got somebody $22,000 where I was in the courtroom with two lawyers and one of the judge, and here I am, just by myself, kind of thing, and representing clients. So to answer the question, if anything at all, will be law. And in fact, I look at it the deeply. It's just a matter of time. But that would be it though.
You still you still a young guy, and I think you got all that it takes to get do it.
Yeah.
Um, my final thing I want to ask you. I don't know if you're I follow Facebook, and there's this without calling any name. But Golin, a very good evening to Golin, Kushira, Dolly, Pulmati, a very good afternoon to you. Thanks to everybody who's watching. We are talking to Dr. Narine Dat out of um, Kitchener in Canada. All the way from Berbice. Somewhere 63 side, na?
Yes, I used 64. I used to live right by the Security Beach. For those of you who may have
Yeah.
visited the number Security Beach, which is they really enhanced the Security Beach. So if you visit the area, make sure you check with the beach. Security Beach.
Right.
Purpose.
I want you to listen to this presentation now. We're not gonna call a name, but on Facebook, I see a woman posting every day about her husband. And her husband, she said, and I'm quoting her, cheated on her with her sister. And every day she's posting three, four posts. And, I am like, what's going on? And she's telling the story. She's telling her whole story. Yes, I understand with her and I empathize with her. But I'm wondering to know if this is the platform for her to bring her story to talk about her husband allegedly infidelity and to tell her whole story. What's your take?
Yeah.
I don't know if you listened to that story though.
Yes. I've been following along too.
You did?
Because
You like
so
how I
I
put
know
it over?
exactly. Yes. So
Yeah.
I know exactly the whole situation. And to be honest with you, I did listen. And in a sense, I mean, I will never be able to feel what the individual is feeling right now, but I was able to somehow feel a little bit, and I reached out to the person.
You
She
did.
might sit, we did, not to ask for personal thing, but for me, I feel as if in my role, I need to do a check in, like, are you okay?
Right, right.
I kind of check in that way, and so I'll tell you why. Not that she shared that with me, but I think this is why she's doing it. Keep in mind, she shared that her own kids turned her back on her if we're referring to the same person, right?
Right.
Yes, and so she basically now doesn't have anybody else. Like the people, like her own kids turned back. And the good thing what I like about her is that she is not saying anything bad about her kids. She's saying that they're smart people. It's just that
Right.
for some reason, things got twisted from the other side, as you would be heard. And I think if the Facebook connection, that's her really hope. She's hoping that somebody will reach out and kind of assist her basically and really help her because some kids is not having far. And if what she's saying is true, then that has to be hard to deal with me. Um,
Right.
she speaks she speaks very intelligently. Like, it is very clear that she knows what she's talking about.
Right.
And so basically she was defending the things that was told to her. Um, I don't know. I get what you're saying that Facebook is not necessarily the platform for it, but keep in mind, based on what she shared, she has nobody else, and so she just she basically she's using it as a way to cope with. So her doing that now, she feels better because she gets it out chest with. But the people like you and I, we wouldn't necessarily judge her per se, but obviously, we were paying attention to this, what's happening here, what is it that we can do? And I think
Right.
that's one
Right.
of the reasons why you brought it up here too. But
Yeah.
I've taken each other, and there's another situation too, which I will talk to you about one-on-one separately,
Yes.
with another situation with some family situation as well too, and that was a shocker for me, because I've had, I've interviewed somebody on my show here, so I'm kind of curious as to what's true, what's not true, as well to see how is it that we can somehow, tell people to manage those things a little bit more better.
Yeah. All right. So thank you very much, and I we will continue to follow that story
Yeah.
and follow Facebook. But we'll do, we do it professionally, and we try to bring peace and stability. So once again, Dr. Narine, that I want to say thank you very much for all that you do, and we do so much things silently, quietly. Thank you very much, and always thank you very much for teaming up with me to come back. And I hope that we can do much more show together. I'm planning to head to Canada sometime next week. I hope I can. We could probably take a drive down to. My sister lives in Toronto. Hope we could drive down to Kitchener. But then I'm watching the war story. So if I don't know if they're gonna want to close the border or whatever is gonna happen. You know.
Yeah, so just on that note, I know I live in Kitchener, you still live in Toronto, but I work in Toronto.
Right.
So I
Right.
went to, right. So if anything at all, we can find a way to kind of connect in Toronto as well. So it's not an issue.
Okay. Good. Well, thank you very much, my brother. And
Right.
we got to see what's where the noise is coming from. Again, thank you very much, and you look sharp. And I wish you again all the very best. Right, brother?
All right. All right. You take good care. We'll talk again soon. Have a good one.
All right. Good. Thank you.
Okay. No
Thanks.
problem.